Welcome to the Twinkle Talks EYFS podcast. Working in the early years is busy, funny, messy, and exhausting. Join me, Shána, some of the Twinkle EYFS team, special guest speakers, and other early years practitioners as we talk honestly about our experiences. Whether you're listening for CPD, on your commute, or to help you relax, Twinkle EYFS will share everything you need to know about all things early years. Hello, lovely listeners. It's Shána here from the Twinkle Talks EYFS podcast, here with another great episode to help you on your early years education journey and also for a bit of fun too. Now, before we even get started, I just wanted to say to our lovely listeners who have gone back to school or started a new setting, best wishes, best of luck from all of us. I hope the Sunday scaries haven't hit already. As an early years teacher myself, I completely understand all the things that have to be ready for this term, all the jobs that need doing, and of course settling in your lovely children and helping them feel safe and secure, which of course they are. It's a lot to take on this half term, but just know that you got this. You have totally got this. You're going to have so much fun. And of course, we are always here if you need us. We've got, of course, the resources on site, everything that you could think of, from activities to CPD to even well-being. You've got our lovely podcast here, of course, but you also have all of our social media platforms. If you're a private early years setting, you can go and reach out to the private early years team on their Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., etc. Of course, if you're an early years practitioner in schools, you've got their social media platforms, again, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, the lot. Also, if you're a childminder and you're getting new children in as they start their new school year, please reach out to the lovely childminding team on social media too. You will find a wealth of support there, not just from the lovely Twinkle team, of course, but from each other. It's such a lovely community. Please reach out and know that we are right behind you as you start your new academic year. Now, after that lovely wholesome start to the beginning, I hope you think, let's get into our main event for today's episode. We interviewed the lovely Sophie, who has done something quite magical. She has decided to make her own board games, and this has stemmed from educating her own children. And that got us thinking, hang on, board games, how do they support education and learning? And early years is the best place to see that. So we're going to have a chat with Sophie all about her board games and how they impact early years and can support early years in learning. Take it away, Sophie. Hi, Sophie. Thank you so much for coming on to our lovely podcast to have a chat today. Really excited about when we were talking on LinkedIn about kind of the things that you do. So I would love for you to, before we get started into our main event today, please tell us all about yourself, about what you do, and your relationship with the education sector.
Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's a pleasure to talk to you all and a pleasure for you all to listen to me. So I'm Sophie, and I was born in the south east of England. And I got into film and TV. That's my professional background.
Oh.
Yes, and I did various jobs, both good and bad. No, they're all good. I was a researcher and location manager. And then I managed to get myself a job working for quite a prominent news channel in the Middle East, which was in Qatar. And when I applied for the job, I actually didn't know where Qatar was at the time. But I managed to get the job, and I told my family, yes, I'm going out there. And, I really had no idea, but I thought, what an opportunity. And that was it. I went to Qatar, I worked there, and I ended up staying there for an incredible 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And, what an experience it was. I got to see different cultures, eat different food, meet different people, do things that just, I had never had the chance to do here. For example, camping in the desert was great, and I did jet skiing on a weekend. So that's what happened. And I lived there and worked there for 14 years. and I endured the hot summers, which were unbearable at times.
It sounds like my heaven. Just be right back. I'm just going to go and book my flight to Qatar right now. You've sold it. You've sold it.
It was a really good country. I had really good times there, but to be honest, when I had my children, that's when it all changed. And that was really to do with the weather and the constraints of it being so hot for half of the year. And I'm quite an outdoor kind of person, and I wanted to bring my children up to play in the grass and the playgrounds. And when it's 40-50 degrees, it's really hard to do that. So they were really my decision to come back to England and to raise them here.
Oh, and then tell me what happened when you came back.
Well, a big reason for coming back is I decided to teach my children how to read. And I thought, why not teach them before they start school? So I actually managed to teach my daughter, who was only 2 at the time, how to read. And I did that all by myself, and it was great. However, my son just, my way of teaching just did not work for him at all, at all. So I had the idea of these board games, as we'll talk about. And I thought I'll come back to England and begin the business from here. I didn't want to do it in Qatar. I didn't have time and work and storage and all that kind of thing. So I wanted to come back to England and begin it here. And I've been back nearly 2 years now, and I love it.
Oh, wow. So this is all like really fresh, really new, really exciting. And I'm really excited to talk about this in particular because board games, I feel when people hear that phrase, they wouldn't necessarily connect it straight away to education, right? But I think, and I'm sure a lot of people who are listening right now feel the same, is that especially in early years, they're a really great tool. So tell me from your experience, especially when you said you were teaching your son how to read, how do board games fit in with learning? Why did it work?
Okay, so my son was very reluctant to even learn. He didn't want even to try. All he wanted to do was play with his toy cars. Like a typical boy. And I loved watching him, putting them into colours, into speeds, all that kind of thing. And just the whole time he had a car in his hand. And I looked at him and thought, what if I could incorporate a toy car into some sort of learning? And I remember having that sort of eureka moment. And I quickly grabbed some paper, quickly made up a sort of sketched a board myself, a very dodgy sketch with a dodgy drawing, but it didn't matter. It was a racing track, and that's all my son cared about. And I remember he was sort of playing with his cars, and I told him, bring a toy car to this table and get me one as well. And he just was delighted that I would even suggest this idea. And he came to the table with toy cars, and I'd written words along the racetrack. So we sort of rolled a dice, moved the cars along, and for the first time, he attempted to learn these words. And I was sort of astonished because he had started. That was the very start of his reading journey by even attempting to learn these words. And I thought to myself, there must be, lots of other children who just learn in different ways, who need that more visual, fun, exciting, engaging element to learning. And I've been a big fan of board games my entire life. So board games were not new to all of us. We had played them before, but it was the first time I had thought, what if I could get a board game that was educational as well and really sort of mix the idea of learning with fun.
I love that. And I think it's I wanted to pick up on something that you said there about your son not wanting to learn. And I think a lot of parents or carers or even teachers sort of jump to that phrase of, oh yeah, they're just not interested in learning, when actually they are, because they're playing, they're exploring, they're curious, they're experimenting, which is learning. It's just like you say, it's not that traditional style of learning. They're not sitting down at a desk. They're not, they haven't got a piece of paper and a pencil. They're not writing out their numbers or their letters. It's just, that's not
their learning style for them. So they are interested in learning, but it's different. And it's that whole thing of historically, I think especially in maybe British sort of education system where it's come from the Victorians very style, you know, we've got this very set idea that learning and play are very different. And board games is the perfect example to show that no, actually, it's both.
You are completely right. You are completely right. And, you know, let me just say, when I taught my daughter, it was very black and white with a pencil. Apart from one thing that I had made up, and I'll tell your listeners my little secret here. I sort of invented a sight word fairy. And this fairy would deliver new words to my daughter every night for her to learn. And she was so excited, and she would learn them that day because she wanted the fairy to come again that night. So that again, making it more fun. But she definitely, apart from that, she was definitely happy to learn with a just sort of pencil and a pen. But you know, this is what we're saying. Everyone learns differently. And my son is incredibly intelligent as well. He just didn't want to learn in that way. He wanted, you know, his cars, he wanted color, he wanted visual engaging, he wanted to roll a dice, he wanted to do all that. And board games just offer so many positives to a child of that age, you know.
That is literally what I was going to go on to, because like you say, not that, you know, the people who do prefer learning that way do sit down and that, you know, do maybe rote learning or however they do like to learn is totally okay. There is no right or wrong way to learn. It's just like you did and how you explored with your own children. It's like, right, my daughter learned this way, but that's not working for my son. So what am I going to do instead? And I think that is amazing. I am totally stealing the sight word fairy. That is the most genius, cute, adorable. Like for me as a kid, that is what I would have. I'd be like, yep, let me do my learning the fairy wants me. Is incredible. From your perspective as well, then, because you've developed these board games yourself and using them with your children, what are the skills and benefits of using board games to support learning?
Well, there is a plethora, a host of good things. Let's start off with screen-free time. That is a massive thing in this modern world. I'm not against screens. To be honest with you, I don't give a lot of screen time to my children. We'll talk about that later, but it offers screen-free time, which is, you know, a good thing a lot of the time. It also allows you to have good communication with whoever you're playing with, you know, whether it's a teacher, an educator, a tutor, or your parents or your siblings. It enables you to talk, to interact, to engage with each other. And this provides lots of conversations in the game, especially with our boards. We have so many different pictures and subjects that you can then additionally talk about. You know, like we have an ancient Egyptian board, and you can start talking about Egypt and history and things like that. Or you can talk about construction, we have that, or animals. So it really helps with that. It also helps children learn to take turns. You know, that is a hard thing for children to accept, that it's your turn and then it's my turn. Promote family time, bonding together, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes of play. It's just your family bonding, doing something together, sharing the experience. And, you know, another positive I personally think is having a physical product that a child can touch and feel and engage with is really important. I personally would prefer my children playing like that than just sort of staring at a screen swiping. But, you know, that's me personally. I much prefer them to have a multi-sensory experience. So board games are great for that as well.
Yeah, I think you've picked up on pretty much everything. If we're thinking about it from maybe an educator's perspective, I can't think of a board game that doesn't cover at least 3 or 4 of the 7 areas of learning. Because like you say, it's got that communication and language element. It's got that personal, social and emotional development side. It could be fine motor control because they're having to physically move pieces. It could be even, I think what makes it unique is that it also brings in the characteristics of effective learning. So what you were talking about there is being able to accept when things go wrong or when it's not your turn, and being able to take turns. And I think what the beauty of board games is, because I was having a discussion about this this morning with my team when I said, oh, we're going to be talking about board games. We had a little reminisce of when we were using them in our classrooms, because I used to play board games with my children all the time, and it was my favourite part because they were so excited for it. But also I could get a really good observation because there were so many skills that they were building. And my favourite part was that when you teach a child how to play by the rules of a certain board game, they can then go and do it independently. And I think that's something that's really quite powerful, because there might be some adult-led activities that you might do in a classroom that you can only do as a group activity or on a one-to-one. And then when it comes to like maybe continuous provision time, they kind of just sort of leave it and then go and do other things and might not choose to come back to it. But I would sometimes use my large group or small group activities, just teaching them how to play this board game, and then watch them ask them, oh, can we get the game out in, for our learning time? And it was always a specific joy for me when you'd watch the children who perhaps weren't as confident in an adult-led activity, then imitating you as the educator when they're doing a board game independently, because they're the one who's pretending to be you, being the teacher, right? Going, you're going first, then and no, it's not your go. Oh, take turns. And it was like gold, absolute gold.
You're completely right again about that. The aspect of sharing and taking the lead, and all things like that, and the fact that we've managed to make it educational is a really, for us, like a win-win, because the child is still getting that play, which is really important again for children, especially at that age. We all want them to study and learn, but they are children at the end of the day. So there's got to be a balance, and this is why our board games are really great, because we've got that balance between playing and enjoying and also learning. And as you were saying, so many things, board games can often be, even for us adults, a nice icebreaker. If we are not very confident or we don't know anyone, you all have this shared game and you all, start playing. And what I really like, especially with my own children, is I really get to know their personalities through a board game. I get to hear that, oh, they love this animal, or that they want this or they want that. And you really get to learn them because you're communicating, you're seeing their reactions, you're seeing what they can do. So it's a lot of positives, and we're very proud to be bringing those positives.
Yeah, I, again, totally agree with you. I just think board games are a really accessible resource for everybody. I know we were talking a lot about, yes, it does promote communication and language, and you might automatically think that, oh yeah, because they have to talk to each other. But I also think board games are really accessible for children who perhaps aren't confident in communication and language. Perhaps they don't actually use their voice, maybe they're non-verbal, perhaps English is not their first language, but they are still able to access board games because of the routine, the rules, and like you say, all the visuals. And I think especially for board games that I've used, you can have different levels of accessibility. So for example, it could be a 2-step game where they do a spin, there's like little spin circles and it's got little colours. Whatever colour it lands on, they collect that colour. So that's kind of like a 2-step game. Or something further on from that, they have to roll a dice. The dice means they move however many steps and then they collect something. So there's so many different levels I think you can access with that. For perhaps children that have additional needs or just different learning needs that access learning in different ways, I think board games is a really good flexible way to sort of get everybody involved. And as you were talking about board games and getting to know each other, me and my best friend, what we do on a Friday night, we don't go out, we don't, we get together, right? We cook each other a roast dinner and we play board games. And it's the best time ever. And like you say, I think it's a really good icebreaker, because when you're not comfortable, especially I think for adults, when you meet new people, it's like, oh, small talk. Oh, yeah, so where are you from? Oh, yeah, you've been on holiday. And it's really, for me, can't bear it. Get me in a board game, though. You will get to know me,
That is so true, so true. And it's really good for that, really good for adults as well, to break that ice and get to know somebody. So yeah, absolutely. And as we were talking about additional needs, What makes our board games really good is they don't take very long. So as we know, board games can take a long time. With ours, you get 3 board games in a pack, and each board game will only take about 5-10 minutes. So it's really quick. We all have time constraints, and children have attention spans. So this is why I purposely made each board game only last, 5-10 minutes. So I can appeal to children who have those additional needs, and therefore it's perfect for them.
I love that. That's great. And it's like you say, just having that adaptability. I did have a question though, because I think you just touched on it a couple of minutes ago. What was the decision behind making the physical board games? Because like you said, technology is quite big now in education, and there's loads of games being developed in app form. Why did you choose to develop a board game and not an app?
This is a really good question. Let me tell you very quickly, my brother and I, who've been raised obviously in the same family, are very, very opposite. My brother is into IT, and he's all into this virtual world and all that kind of thing, which I have had a go at. And it is fun, but it's not real life. Therefore, we are very opposite. I just think a board game is, I don't know, more fun, more engaging. And so I purposely wanted a physical board. As I explained before, I'm not a huge fan of screen time with my children. I just sort of feel like, they're in their own world when they're on a screen. So I want to be in their world, and I want them to be in my world. So I purposely wanted a physical object. I will say to my children, computers and the internet will be around forever. It will not go away. And, that's a good thing. Spike Sightwords relies on the internet. But I just think as a child, your childhood is limited, and there will be plenty of times in your life to be on a phone and a computer and use the internet. So I just wanted to promote some sort of childhood screen-free time with a physical product that you can pick up, you can carry, you can look at, you can display. Other people can see it, and that was just really important to me. I have had quite a couple of people ask whether I'd be developing some sort of online game app. And I really, really am 2 ways about it. I mean, I know that how a lot of children like to learn, but I want to stick to my guns, as we say. I want to have that physical product and what I believe in, and I believe children will learn better like this. Of course, there is plenty of apps and games for children to learn, but it doesn't promote all the things that we've talked about. And so it was just important to me. It was a physical product. There are still lots of physical board games, but it was just important to me. And I just wanted to promote children playing, family time, teachers interacting. I sort of believe you can't really do that if a child's staring into an iPad or a tablet or something. So that's why.
I think that's really insightful. I think from what you said about yourself when you were introducing yourself, you're very outdoorsy and things like that. And it just brought up a picture in my mind of when we were children and we would go on holidays and, like a little broken down caravan or something, and internet wasn't even a thing, or you'd be in the middle of nowhere. It was absolutely chucking it down with rain. What did we all do? We went to board games. So it's that thing that it's always accessible, because you never know, the internet might go down, or there's a bad connection, or something like that, or the screen's broke or it's out of battery or something. That board game will always be there. And like you say, there is always a time and a place for technology. Can't argue that. Technology is a massive benefit for everyone in our society at the moment, but that doesn't mean there isn't room for others. And board games worked before. Let's keep it going. It's just having that even spread and that choice. And I think it's wonderful. It makes me feel nostalgic. I used to roll my eyes when I was a teenager. I'm like, oh gosh, board game, really? Now I'm like, yes, get the board games out. Which one are we doing today? And it's so exciting.
Also, I suppose it ties in with my personality as well. So I don't really give my children many screen times. I don't allow them on my phone. They don't really watch YouTube or anything at this age, because I've told them you have your whole lives for that. I would rather they be in a playground, or they're in the garden playing, or they're building a den, or they're painting, or whatever. There's plenty of time, personally, I think, for all that. And it's not particularly hard the online and the internet, swiping here and clicking here. So I don't feel that they won't be able to learn it in time. And actually, funny enough, my daughter now is doing a lot of screen time at school. So we try to avoid it at home because she gets more than enough at school.
There you go. Like you say, you're just creating that balance. I like that. And I'm really interested to sort of now know about the behind the scenes stuff of this process, because I've never known anybody to sort of make a board game before. So this is like really cool for me. How did you even begin? Like, what was the process?
Well, nobody taught me how to do it, I'll tell you that. So like I said, I started off making my own boards, and I did that on my breaks at work as well, because I worked in news and I had like 5-hour breaks, which were hard, and you weren't allowed to leave the building, anything like that. So in case of breaking news, that's why. So I had very, very long breaks. So I started just designing my own, and then as much as my son enjoyed it, I knew I had to make it more professional. So I hired a designer, a wonderful chap in Sri Lanka, who had worked with me before. I, on a little separate subject, I wrote a children's book, only really for my children, and they were all characters in it. And he did the illustrations for that. And, I thought he was great. So I set him the task of designing 30 board games, which took just under a year for him to complete, because they were all completely new images. He created them from scratch, including, he told me, in our insect board, he personally drew on the computer something like 1,000 ants that all looked completely different.
Wow, that is dedication.
I did tell him I don't know if everyone will really be bothered.
I love that. That is so cute.
So I got my designer to design 30 boards, and I gave him the project to do, and it took nearly a year, as I was saying, because he meticulously wanted to do every single picture by scratch, including we have an insect board, and he insisted on every single ant looking completely and utterly different. So I did tell him I'm not sure if everybody would really appreciate his 1,000 different looking ants, but he insisted that he do it. And
I'm just trying to think of 100 different ant expressions, like a happy ant, a sad ant, confused. I'm struggling to. Kudos to him.
Exactly. I think like the ant's legs were all slightly different and slightly sizes. But you know what? I said to him, make them good, and take your time over it. So that took maybe just under a year. I then started sourcing a company to make them. And of course, there aren't a huge amount of countries or companies that will make board games. I did actually find one in China, and I remember speaking to the lady, and I told her that, you know what, I'm going to make them in China with you, but I don't want anybody to think they were made in China, if that makes sense, because I wanted them to be really good quality and not fall apart, and I wanted people to think, they are good and good quality. So I spoke to her, and I got a sample made. The sample got sent to me. It was pretty expensive to even do, but it was very important because I had to see what it looked like, what it felt like. And I remember one of the handles falling off of my very expensive sample, and I was not too pleased. But it's okay, because we then changed it to a stronger strap, so it was all good. And then I got them made there, and I then had to have testing done because it's a children's product. So I had to basically pay again a lot of money and have my board games destroyed. That's what they did. That was the testing of them.
No way.
Yeah, they, I believe, set them on fire and put all sorts of things on them. Yeah, to check it was all safe,
Yeah, gosh.
I had to do that, and that's when you sell a product, especially a children's product, you have to have these symbols and logos on the back of your product. So there was no escaping that. But of course, you know, I wanted to do it anyway. I wanted to make sure my product was good for children and nothing bad would happen. So that was fine. And it passed all the regulations. And then I had the big decision to make the big order. And, you know, let me tell you, I self-financed this all myself. And it was a huge amount of money for me. It was a very nerve-wracking 10 minutes as I stared at the invoice. And I was oohing and ahhing, should I, shouldn't I? And then, you know, my motto in life is the Latin words carpe diem. So, which means just seize the day, go for it. And I sent over the money, gulped, and told my family I've done it. And that was it. And I then handed in my notice, my job in Qatar, and board games would be taking about 6 months to make it to England on shipping. So I, you know, packed all our things up and we moved across. And I waited for the shipment. And oh my, what a wonderful, wonderful moment that was, because I'd only seen one sample, so I'd only seen 3 of the boards before. And suddenly I had 30 designs and thousands of boards, and it was incredible. And I knew then the hard work really would begin. And, you know, and it went from there. I got the website going, I got the photography going, I started, you know, building up contacts, sending out samples, and, you know, here we are today.
I think that is such a fascinating journey. It didn't even occur to me that, yeah, of course it has to go through safety checks, so it's going to be like done all sorts. I've just got a vision in my mind of, if you ever watched The Incredibles, when Edna Mode, right, she makes all the costumes for The Incredibles, and she just sits the mum down, and there's this big conveyor belt, and it's just all the costumes going through, being absolutely obliterated to test that they're going to be durable. That is what I imagined your board games went through. I really hope that's true. I'm feeling very Dragon's Den-y, The Apprentice style sort of process. Was it anything like that, or am I just being a bit too dramatic?
Well, I've actually applied for those shows. Dragon's Den, actually.
Shut the front door.
I have, but
oh my god, let me know, because if you get on, oh my gosh, we are watching this episode.
Well, I will, but I need to gear myself up. I already have I've managed to get myself this incredible business mentor who is doing this wonderful thing of, you know, that film Pay It Forward.
Yes.
People offer like things, you know, in exchange, and he's been wonderful, and he's doing that for me. But he is definitely like somebody from Dragon's Den, and I sort of clam up a little bit when I chat to him because he's so nerve-wracking. So I'll have to gear myself up for it. I know I can do it. So
yes, you can.
Let's see.
Oh, I'm well excited. Okay, great. This is like, oh, exciting stuff. So before we finish and get questions from our listeners and things, tell us about the board games that you provide. Like what sort of designs, what learning? Tell us all about them.
Yeah, absolutely, I will. So each pack comes with 3 boards, as I've said, and you get to choose which boards you would like. And that was so fundamental to me, because it had to be something, a design that your child or your student would be engaged in. So we have designs such as football, we have space, we have animals, construction, we have tennis, we have famous landmarks. It had to have a design that your child could connect with. So each pack comes with 3 boards that you get to choose, as I've said. And it comes with all the word tokens. So I chose to focus on exception words and high frequency words. So just to say to your listeners, the exception words could also be called tricky words, red words, basically the words in English where, you know, you can't phonetically sound them out. They are spelt and said in a way that, you know, doesn't correspond with the letters. A big example would be said or no, K-N-O-W. And I definitely focused on those because from teaching my son, he just didn't understand why the word no had a K with it. And, so I focused on those, and also the high frequency words, the really small words that make up the bigger print, in, it, she, that you have to learn. And they are repeated so much in text that you have to just quickly know them. So I focused on those, and I've divided up the pack. So there are 3 groups of words. One is the beginner words, so the really easy ones, in, it, she, my. So if you're at the beginning of your reading journey, you obviously start with those. Then I've divided the next one is the intermediate words, where the slightly harder, like come, should, words like that again. And then I've gone to the advanced words, which are words like beautiful and problem, symbols like that. So you can start whatever level your child is on. You can go through start at the beginning and work your way up, or you can just jump straight into the advanced and learn how to read and spell them. And I mentioned reading and spelling because the game has sort of 2 elements. You can turn the token up and practice reading the word, or you can turn the token the other way round, and when you land on it, the other person will hold up the word, say the word, and then the person has to spell the word. Nice. And so there's two ways, and that was definitely inspired going back to my children, because my son obviously couldn't read the word, but my daughter could, and I still wanted her involved. So I thought, well, she can learn how to spell the word then. So there are 2 elements to that. We include counters, but what I really, really, really encourage is for parents or educators to use their own counters, whether it be toy cars, toy animals. I used to set my children a challenge. You've got 20 seconds to go and find a counter. And some of the things my children brought back, I think my daughter once bought a pot of paint. My son brought peppermill once. Yeah. I think maybe once a plug, one a spoon. But I told them it's okay. If that's going to engage you and get you to move around the board and learn, so be it. So, I really, really encourage that. It's a really fundamental part to sort of make the game more exciting and engaging. And if you could let your child or your student pick that counter, it really engages them. And the final thing we have in the pack is just a tick-off sheet that the parent or educator can tick off what words their child has learnt, whether it be reading or spelling. And that's it. And it's just a really good way of getting to learn and practice these words that are quite tricky in the English language.
I love that. You say, oh, and that's it. You've put quite a lot in these packs. There's like everything you need, sounds like. It sounds great. I'm very excited for that. And we've got some questioners. We've got some questions from our listeners. So we put on social media a while back about you coming on and talking about board games. And we've got a listener that asks, the first question is, I have a child in my class who struggles with taking turns and losing. So can you suggest any games or board games where the players collaborate and work together instead of a competitive game? Ooh.
You want me to talk about my board games with that, or any board game?
Any, all of the above.
Oh, well, you could play any board game just in a team. Any board game, instead of just playing on your own, you can play as a team. I often play board games with my children, and my children are the team. They are playing together against me, and that's just a great way of doing it. Teamwork, listening to others' ideas. Most of the time it will work. Most of the time, but it encourages them to listen to each other, like you said, and to learn to share, especially with a team. Sometimes they have to roll the dice, take in turns to roll the dice, or they have to If there's 2 die, then of course you can have 1 do each. But it's a joint decision, isn't it? So there are many games. In fact, any board game can be just put into teams.
Yeah, I like that idea, actually. I didn't even think about that. Is like giving them a buddy so that they would share a counter or they'd work on something together. Or like you say, just actually the aim of the game is, instead of, I don't know, whoever gets the most counters first, it's let's get everybody to the finish line. Let's, when you've finished your counter, how can we help everybody else? And I like that little twist on things, actually.
I should also just quickly mention that spike site word board games aren't necessarily about the winning. I do actually write that in the instructions, that it's not necessarily who wins it. It's just about learning the words. So of course, the child wants to get to the finish, but that is not the main aim. The main aim is for them to stop off and really learn the words. So it's not hugely competitive spike site words like other board games. It's just a case of really trying to get them to learn that word.
Yeah, and I think that's what's really good about it as well, because you've considered it, and they're quite flexible in how you can use your board game. So I like that. That's really good. And the second question we've got from our listener is so we have got a small setting and there's not a lot of cupboard space, so don't have much space for board games. Are card games just as beneficial and useful in educational learning games?
That's a really good question, because I also have the same problem. I have, loads of board games, and they're all stuffed up in the cupboards in my daughter's room, which she's not pressed about. But games are great as well, because they still promote that communication, the sociability, the talking to each other, the social aspect, the learning. But what I really love and about our board games as well is that they're pretty big ones. They're not small boards, but the way they've been designed is they fold up really nicely, and we actually can fit 3 board games in one pack. And if you've seen our packaging, I purposely didn't want to make it a cardboard box. I didn't want it to look like any other board game. So actually it's like a sort of plastic carry case that you can fit in anywhere, and it's smaller, you can carry it around. So that's a really good question, and I love card games as well. Card games are really great. I play them again with my children. We do math with them as well. We play like a sort of snap math, like 6 and 5, 4 and 2, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a good question as well.
I also feel like for your board games, even though, like you say, it does come with a board, because, like you say, you've got the tokens, I feel like you would be able to sort of have the freedom to create your own game with just the tokens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was, again, teaching my own children with them, we used to play with the tokens afterwards. And I used to tell them, take a token, spin it. What's the word? My daughter all the time used to sort of play with them and make a pattern out of them and a character, and she used to stack them. So you're right, you can take the tokens and you can just play with them separately and learn from them separately. Another good one is I tried to get my son to sort of flip the token into the hole.
Oh yeah.
Just adding to that, learning different playing experience. And a lot of Senkos and teachers have credited our boards for being really adaptable to both how I said, you can play it, but also to adapt it and play with the tokens in a different way.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you to our wonderful listeners that brought those questions in as well. We're nearly at the end of the episode, Sophie. Before you go, would you like to play a game?
Which game are you talking about?
Well, this is the thing, right? If you just said no, but you can't say no because you're promoting your own board games. Come on now. It's a Would You Rather teacher edition, or should I say Sophie's board game edition? What do you say?
I say absolutely.
She's down. She's ready. Okay, let's go. So there are 3 questions in this Would You Rather game. And I usually try and pick these questions that are personal to you, but get to know you a bit more. The first question, though, is always the same, because I feel like we're British and it says a lot about our personality. Would you rather tea or coffee?
Oh, good question. You know what? When I lived in Qatar, everybody assumed I would love tea and like tea. I always got offered tea. And I'm not a big tea drinker. I do like tea, but I would never probably ask for it. And I'd probably maybe drink herbal tea once a year. So I definitely would say coffee. And funny enough, I didn't actually used to like coffee either, but I got so tired of people offering me a tea or coffee, and I didn't really want either. I sort of forced myself into liking one of them, and coffee was the one. So I go for coffee. And having lived in the Middle East, I started drinking the little Turkish coffee. You know, they're very, very strong espressos. So I do that. But I have my coffee every morning. And not like I said, I didn't used to like it, but now I've forced myself. So I'm a coffee drinker now. I'll go with coffee.
That's so funny. Maybe we should rephrase the game as not would you rather, which would you least detest in that situation? Oh, that's so funny. Okay, the next one is definitely for you. All right, we can't talk about board games without getting your own opinion on this. Would you rather play Monopoly or Cluedo?
Oh, that's a really good one. Oh, I love both of them. I really love both of them. I started playing Cluedo with my children, and what I really like about that is that before my son couldn't read, so I would always have to help him with, ticking off things, and that sort of defeats the object of the game because I'm meant to be guessing, not seeing his card. So we found that tricky, but now that he can read, thanks to our board games, we've started playing that, and it's now, we're playing it properly. So it's good. But an overall winner for me has to be Monopoly, because I just have so many great memories from it. And I remember playing it with my family, and, I was always the hat, the character, the hat. And I just all the time was the hat. And I remember when I played it with my children, I told them, yes, I'm always the hat, and I'll be the hat now. And they said to me, Mummy, please, I be the hat? And I looked at them and I thought, oh no, really? After like 30 years of being the hat, but I can't tell my children no, can I? Because that's terrible. So I really nervously let them be the hat, but it was such a psychological change for me. And for the first time, I was not the hat, and I don't know if I won or lost, but Monopoly is great. It has a lot of memories for me. There's great learning. We won't go all into it, but there's wonderful learning from Monopoly. It does take a long time, but we've managed to do a sort of family shortcut where for about half an hour we just divide up all the properties, and you get what you're given, and we sort of cut it down a bit. But definitely Monopoly. It's a classic.
It is a classic, and I love that you've got fond memories of Monopoly, because all I remember from Monopoly is arguments. Like, it's just so, people get so competitive. And again, like you said, oh my God, it goes on forever. Like, I like to think I've got a good attention span, but by the time I'm just like, all right, someone just come and land on my board. It's very frustrating. For me, it's got to be a Cluedo. My listeners should hopefully know I am obsessed with Poirot and murder mystery, and Agatha Christie is my babe. So Cluedo for me, I feel like I'm a little detective. Do I get them right? No, I don't. Not to this day have I ever guessed the murderer. However, there will be a day and I will get there.
That's hilarious. So you're that type of person who thinks they know them all, goes and checks the envelope and gets half of them wrong. Is that right?
Sophie, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, did you just look into my soul? Like, how did you know this? I feel very vulnerable right now.
No. Listen, they're both great games, and they're just, they're really good fun. They're classic games. I love them too, and I love playing them with my family.
Good, I'm glad. And I love that there's so many more different board games out there now recently. I love going and exploring new ones. That's great. The final edition of would you rather cats or dogs?
Oh, that's, I love animals. I love all animals. I love dogs. My children would like a dog. But I told them, I don't think you realise that dogs are quite hard work.
Yeah.
Um, so I will go with cats, and I'll tell you why. When I lived in Qatar, they have a big homeless cat and dog, but mostly cats, homeless cat, stray cat problem. And where I used to live, I took on a sort of colony of cats, and I would feed probably about 30 cats every day. And I would go down from my apartment block, and they would all run to me, and I would have the bag, and I would feed them and give them water. And I tell you, that was one of the hardest things leaving, actually, was knowing that I left them behind. And I remember, this will make your listeners chuckle, I thought I'd give them the Last Supper, as we called it. And I cooked about 30 chickens in my oven, and I gave them this Last Supper of pretty much a whole chicken each. And I just knew that was going to be the best and the last decent meal that they would ever have. So I would say cats. I also adopted, if you like, 3 cats out of that colony and flew them back to England, which was very hard work and very expensive, but it was worth it, and they live with us now. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could have taken them all, but if anyone who has any pets, you realise that actually even one is enough, let alone 30. So yes, I would say cats. Although I do love dogs, and I will get a dog one day, just not now. I also like to just pointing out that a cat, you can pretty much, like what I'm doing now, just leave them alone or go out for the day, and they're more than happy just to wander around. With a dog, there's a lot more responsibility, isn't there? So
yeah,
I'd say, in conclusion,
my heart is bursting. So we now know that there's, in the Game of Thrones, Daenerys, the mother of dragons, introducing Sophie, the mother of cats. What was that delightful story? I can't even.
But you know what? I mean, I only looked after 30. I knew somebody at my work who hired a villa for about 200 cats to live in.
Wow.
That is extreme. And it did not go down well with the neighbours. They had nowhere else to go, and she hired a villa just for cats. So as much as I did my best, there are people doing a lot more.
Oh no, and there are people doing a lot less. So kudos to you. That is a beautiful thing that you've done, and it's just testament to the heart that you have and the passion that you have for helping people as well as animals, and I love it. It has been such a joy to talk to you, Sophie. I know our listeners are going to want to check out your board game and follow your journey, and maybe even get in touch and ask questions. Where can our listeners get in contact with you?
Oh, sure. So we have, obviously, our website is spikessightwords.com. So there are lots of articles on there, how you can teach your child to read. There's lots of articles for children with dyslexia, with autism, ADHD, with all these additional needs. You get lots of information on there. We also are available on lots of social media, all the usual channels. And or you can even email me if you like. It's info@spikesightwords.com. And I have had a couple of parents email me asking this and asking that. And like you said, I have a real passion for helping children with their reading. I just love it. I get so much joy from reading to my children, and I just think reading is such a fundamentally important thing for a child, for anyone to get through life. So get in contact with me. I'm more than happy to speak to you and give you some tips about how your child can be helped, and also lots of other ideas as well.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much, Sophie. I will make sure to put all of those links in the episode description so you're just a click away. It's wonderful. I look forward to seeing the board games, the more things that you're coming out. I've been told, little birdie told me, you told me, possible international games.
You know what? I just had a meeting last week with a chap in India who wants to bring the board games to India, and he wants to have a few additional designs to like the Indian child. So for sure there'll be a cricket board in there, things like and he wants to manufacture them in India for various reasons. So we've got that. I also had a meeting with someone in Nigeria who wants to bring them there. I mean, I don't want to dream too big, but it is good to dream. I can see them in, I don't know, maybe every country in the world.
Let's manifest it, Sophie. Let's manifest.
You know, not just learning English. There's a couple of countries who want to turn the tokens into their own languages. So there's a lot of scope as well. So hopefully it will go international. Well, it is going international, and it will just continue to go so.
Incredible. No, thank you so much. And thank you so much for spending time with me today and having this chat. I look forward to hearing more about it all soon.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that. And thank you to everyone for your support.
Lovely. Thank you so much to Sophie for spending the time with us and having that wonderful chat about her board games and just board games in general, and just how useful they are to cover so many areas of learning and to get children feeling involved. If you want to know more about Sophie and the board games that she provides, please feel free to check the episode description. All of the information is there for you, as always, of course. Our social media platforms, come reach out to us if you've got any questions, if you want support, if you've got an idea for a next episode, or you want to come on and talk with us yourself. Please send us a message. We are always open to hearing about what you guys are up to. We love it. So that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us. We can't wait to see you on the next episode. Goodbye. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you would like to join in or would like to know more, then come and find us on our social media sites. We have a Facebook page, Facebook groups, an Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Pinterest, and YouTube. All the links of where to find us will be in our podcast description. Come and join the conversation. And whatever you're doing today, I hope you have a great day.